Hey, what's going on? Welcome along to episode 64 of the Strategy and Conversions podcast. I'm Jamie Michael Joseph, and as always, I'm joined by Mr. Mark Tanner.
Hello, everyone.
But we did the last episode all about Clarkson's farm.
We
We
did.
looked at the kind of business lessons, the marketing lessons, all that kind of stuff. We were talking 40 odd minutes have passed, and we were like, we haven't even scratched the surface. We're going to do a second one. So
Yeah,
that's what we're going to look at today. We're going to look at doing part two, talking about Clarkson's farm, all the kind of business and marketing lessons and stuff like that. And
yeah,
again, look, if you don't know what Clarkson's farm is, go and check out on Prime. Jeremy Clarkson, love him or hate him. The program is good.
yeah.
The lessons in that are great as well. Entertainment value, amazing.
That is good. Yeah,
I think that definitely go and check that out. And what I would say as well is, look, if you haven't listened to the previous episode, don't worry. Right now, the stuff that we're going to cover, we're not going to pick up, on that stuff, or we might reference it, but you can go back and listen to that one,
yeah,
later and stuff like that as well. So we'll get
definitely.
into it in just a minute. But Mike, two things, but before we do get into it, right? I haven't mentioned this to you, but if there was ever proof that your phone is listening to you, right, it's definitely this, right? Because we recorded the episode about Clarkson's farm, right? And I think
Right.
a day or two later, I'm scrolling through Instagram, right? And suggested is a post from Caleb, right? So it's
Oh, wow.
one of the guys from Clarkson's farm is obviously posted something out on Instagram, but Instagram for some reason now is telling me I'm probably interested in this, so I should check it out. And it's like,
Wow.
where's that come
Yeah.
from? Is it just that we've mentioned Clarkson's farm so many times on the last podcast episode that the phone just picked up, what was going on? But yeah, I mean, we all know.
Google is watching, isn't it?
We know that's happening and stuff like that. Everything's being tracked and all sorts. It's scary when you think about it, but as always, we kind of look at things going, use it to your advantage.
Yeah,
It's stuff
yeah,
out there that you can tap into this whole kind of marketing side and stuff like that as well. But do you know what is really, I don't know if it's fate, I don't know, whatever, right? But this post that it told me that I should be checking out. So it's Caleb. It's got four pictures of him, and he's like laughing, right? So he's with like different people from this series, right, on each one, but he's laughing. And the post says something along the lines of, if you're not this happy in your job, then change your job.
well,
And I was just like, isn't that the truth right there?
yeah. There's so many references. It's interesting, isn't it? Because when in the series, both series one and series two, there's been times when both Caleb and Jeremy Clarkson have been in their tractors, and Jeremy Clarkson's had a completely disaster of a day before the previous day or something. Everything has gone wrong, and you'll see him in his tractor early in the morning with a mist around it. And he just says, and he'll come out and thinks, "I love it. Everything's going wrong, but I love it." And Caleb keeps coming out with comments that, "Yeah, but look at that sunset. Yeah, this is the best job in the world." And it's really genuine from the yeah they're always I remember seeing the kind of a debrief from episode one, wasn't it? And they all sat around having a few beers or whatever, and they're all talking uh, about sort of the whole series and what they had done. um and everyone had just massive smiles on their faces, and Jeremy Clarkson's partner, I don't think it was his wife, but his partner said to him, "You're a changed person since you've been doing this." And you think all the stresses and all the rubbish that's been thrown his way,
Mm.
um, in from every side, and yet he's still a much happier person being out in that on that farm than he was obviously beforehand. And I think it's just that, back to nature, I guess. I'm not sure. Well, yeah, I know that because I'm a big proponent of that. It's going back to nature, but he just loves doing what he's doing. It's amazing.
I think that is just the secret right there, isn't it? Is you get this quite a lot, don't you, in the whole kind of, I don't know. I was going to say marketing. I was going to say business world, but I think the guru sort of world, right? Is that they say follow your passion and just do something you like, and it's not always attainable, is it? You can't just do what you enjoy
Yeah,
without there being some sort of vehicle. Now, someone like someone like Jeremy Clarkson, he's made his money,
Yeah, exactly.
that he
Yeah,
can
yes,
choose to do that and not really
yeah,
be impacted and stuff. And as long as he doesn't lose a shed load of money,
yeah,
he's probably going to be fine. And someone like Caleb, for example, he's probably known nothing else.
yeah,
So it's probably just like it's in his bones. Like that's what he loves doing because he knows nothing else and stuff like that.
mm,
I do
yeah,
think you kind of get these messages where it says follow your passion and just do the things that you want to do. But I think look, cards on the table, like business is hard. No
yeah,
matter what business you're in and stuff like that. And that whole kind of thing with Clarkson is like, yeah, you think he's like it's all worth it in the end. He loves it, but there's times when it's really hard and it's frustrating.
mm,
But because there's probably a bigger purpose there, because there is a bit of a passion there and stuff like that, it gets him through. But when you're just kind of starting a business for the sake of it, because you like doing something, it doesn't always go to plan. And
no,
I think I'm guilty of this as well. I think we've mentioned this on podcast episodes before, and I said about, I'm not really one for hobbies and stuff like that. Because whenever I get something that I'm interested in, I'm always like, how can I make money out of this? Yeah, no,
yeah,
it's always the brains sort of turning and stuff like that. And then it becomes something that it isn't, you're not doing it for fun, you're doing it for a reason to kind of make money and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this, but I think you'll get what I mean, where it's like you can't always just do what you love. Sometimes you have to do the things that you don't like doing.
yeah,
If you
yeah.
can team it up, if there's a way around it, then it all makes sense.
Well, I must admit that's why I think I'm really, really fortunate because I love writing. I've loved writing I've been writing since I was a kid, and I'd never really understood. And it was, and I think I've said this before on the podcast. I never realized I could make money out of writing. I never wanted to be a journalist because I remember that was one of my. I thought about being a journalist. My dad very wisely told me at the time that you do not want to become a journalist. He said it's just, he just talked about how shark infested those waters were, that kind of thing. So I never did anything. I just wrote and wrote just odd things. And I never realized until it was about 10 years ago when I first learned copywriting that I could actually make a living out of writing. Now, copywriting is not the same as writing. I get that, but it's still but the way I write I'm now creating quite a niche for myself in the fact that people like the way I write. So when I first started writing, I wasn't a I didn't write as copywriters do, very very salesy and very factual because I hated writing that way. I wrote as I talked, so conversational writing, and um, and that's why I enjoyed it because I was just kind of it's my own thoughts really to a certain extent. And then I got into copywriting and then got to understand that this is, so I started to get into the psychology as well, which I was always interested in, of what people wanted the writing to do and how they wanted their customers to read. So it was mainly educational blogs and stuff. But then they started to like the way I wrote as opposed to just sales, 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 because it works, but it turns a lot of UK people off, definitely. It works in the States a lot better. But in the UK, we're very reticent about putting our hands into our credit card straight away and tapping it, whatever. Um, so I write in a way I really love writing, and so I've been very fortunate because at first it was difficult to get going because it was a bit strange to some people. But I write for about 4 or 5 different people now, and they love the way I write. Um, and and it's because it's very conversational. It's quite, I put some emotion into that, a bit of fun as well into that, but it's mainly because it's so conversational and so chatty that people like that. And so I don't write to sell, but my writing does sell, which is a kind of a weird thing around. So people have through stuff I've written for people, they have subscribed to something. And I was chatting to somebody I write for just yesterday, and I was saying, look, how many click throughs do you get on the because I write their blogs and I say, how many click throughs do you get? Because I've got no idea. And he said, well, let's have a look. And it's getting read. The whole blog is getting read by a lot of people. And it's leading to people then subscribing and giving them. Although that's difficult to quantify, you can see they see some of the people who have been reading their blogs and they ask them, and it's getting them to create some sort of traction in that business as well. So that flatters me. It makes me feel really quite proud of the stuff I do. But going back to what you were saying, it's fortunate because I just decided that's the way I'm going to write, kind of stubbornly. I thought, no, I'm going to write this way. And so I'm very fortunate in that sense, is that because I love writing and I write the way I love, it is a lot easier for me. It was hard to start with, and I'm sure there'll be hard times coming on. You know, at the moment I'm on one of those um, feast area. Well, feast. I'm not that well off, but I'm at that stage where everything's going well. But we know in business that that won't last because
And that's the thing,
the
isn't it?
winter will
Like,
come.
and anything could change. I
Yeah,
think in that last podcast episode, we obviously mentioned a lot with Clarkson's farm around things like pests and
yeah,
diseases and stuff like that, being wiping out different things. And like you're saying now, I mean that whole kind of thing. What I took from that is I'm kind of looking at that part of going. Sometimes you have to go against the masses because you could easily take on loads of clients tomorrow that just want some
yeah.
copy done, and the reason they want the copy done is to get more sales. So in their mind, they're kind of going, write a sales post for me. When you're like, look, that isn't what I do.
No,
But
no.
someone who has embraced that, as a client and gone, okay, I understand that. I like the way you write and stuff like that. You write it for me because what we're doing now is something different to the norm.
Yeah,
Is that people are used to having things in a certain way. You know, when they see then something different, they pay attention to it. Like I said, that whole kind of thing of it being conversational and actually, giving them an option and again, getting to that kind of call to action being quite subtle in a way where it's just to subscribe to get, the
yeah,
next
yeah, yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like that rather than just buy my stuff.
yeah.
There's time and a place for buying my stuff and everything like that, most definitely.
Yeah, well,
But
definitely. Yeah,
bringing it back to the whole kind of Clarkson's farm thing, I think from me thinking about that in both series, he's done something where he's really tried to do something left field,
yeah.
right? And in the first one, he tried to grow wasabi, right? So
Well,
he
that's right. Yeah, I
he tried to
forgot
grow
that.
that. It
Yes.
didn't it didn't go too well and stuff like that. And this time, he's planting some sort of seed,
Oh, that's right. Oh,
which is used a lot by vegans or something
yeah, yeah,
to get protein or something like that. And he's
yeah,
like, we can make so much more money with this, so let's
yeah,
try. And it
yeah.
is
That's
that
right.
way where like sometimes you have to be able to adapt. And I think coming full circle back to what I was saying is that you can't always just do what you're passionate about. Is that you can try to do stuff, but when it isn't working, you might need to adapt. You might need to, try something else for a short term, so that kind of thing that you might need to get some money in. So you might need to change things for a while. You might need to be more hands-on before you can get to that level where someone else can take over and you can then, concentrate on doing what you want to do and stuff like that. But I think it's well the flip side is going, don't be afraid to try
Mm.
something new. Don't be afraid to just kind of put your foot out there, and that could just come back to as well. Like you want to do something. I mentioned on the last episode with Clarkson is that he's not a farmer. He's just
No.
decided one day that he's going to be a farmer. And we see that so many times in business where people go, "I'm going to do this," and it's like, "Have you actually thought about this? Is this
Mm.
actually what you want to do?" But when you are serious about something, you have to go in with 2 feet. I don't
Yeah,
think you can just sit back and
yeah,
go, I'll give this a little try, see if it's any good. I think you have to be committed and go straight in. And I think the farming example is just like, I think it sums it up because if you just went into farming half-hearted, you
well,
wouldn't you wouldn't survive, would you?
no, I don't think so. I don't think so. And I think no, I think you and he's now I know because it's TV, all right, it's Clarkson,
Yeah.
it's TV. So that you get the commentary on this. Oh, I've had an idea, but you know pretty well that it's not Clarkson's idea. Someone has suggested it to him, and that he's mulled it over and thought about it, and but gone with it. You know, he actually thought that's a good idea. And what there's a bit of a spoiler, isn't there? Maybe I shouldn't say this about the white cow. What was it called? I can't remember
Oh,
the white cow was.
Pepper or
Pepper.
Pepper. Yeah.
Yeah, and Pepper's fate. I won't go any further than that. But he
Yeah.
completely just he says, "Sod it, we're going to do
Yeah.
this." And and most farmers wouldn't have done that. And he was
Yeah.
advised, "No, no, that's not economic to do." But that's what he decided to do, and that's kind of why he thinks because he's getting a bit he was getting a bit emotionally attached, I suppose. But
Yeah.
and that's again the other thing with Caleb and Charlie, who are farmers,
Mm.
basically saying don't get emotional about it. You leave emotions out. And one thing I will say actually in business, especially in where I in my kind of other business, if you like coaching, in that coaching industry, you get so many people, so many coaches who are um, they come up with a coach. They're going to be, I don't know, a diet coach, or they're going to be a disc coach, or whatever they've decided they're going to be, and they get so vested and so emotional about that. When they don't get customers, when they don't get clients, they get really upset and emotional about it, and they let that emotion drain their energy in business, and you can't afford to do that. And I've learned that kind of the hard way. And yeah, I love what I do, and I love the writing, but I know that if when I first started, and it was really difficult to get going, um, it was quite draining. But I just remember, no, it's just I've got to go on to the next person.
Mm.
I've got to go on to the next person, because I can't just dwell on one person not liking what I did, or say no, that's not what I want. Um, but there's a lot of coaches that do that, and it kind of breaks them. You say, no, it's one of the mindsets you have to have as a business owner, that you may be a copywriter, maybe a copywriter, a marketing coach, or a diet coach, whatever. But ultimately, you've got to market your business. You are a marketer. You can't afford to be emotionally attached to your product, because if it's not working and people don't want it, if people don't want what you've got to sell, you've got two choices: you either change what you're selling, or you don't have a business. It's as simple as that, isn't it?
Definitely. And I think from what you just said there, I think actually sums up what I think I've been trying to say, is that where you kind of, if you do something just because you like it, when it doesn't go well, you're likely to give up. You're not likely to
Yeah.
push through. But when there's a higher purpose, when there's something you're actually working towards, there will be those times, and there will be those times. That's the thing. When it doesn't go to plan,
Yeah.
something happens, and you have to change things completely. Talking about Clarkson's farm and stuff like that. I mean, how many times has he, like you said, I've had an idea, like, I'm going to do this, and then someone stopped it, maybe even at the last stage as well. You can't continue with that, and it's like, okay, I've been
Yeah.
through all these different stages. I've got the local community on side. I've got the right kind of planning now, or something like that, and someone's objected.
Yeah.
And it's like all of a sudden I've got to try and battle with this. And do you know what I was going to say as well, like with that whole kind of mindset thing, like things are going to get tough, where you can, it's not always plain sailing. Things are going to come up. You're going to be up against it and stuff like that, and there will be people out there who try to put you down, or
Oh
they,
yeah.
they're the ones who are quick to fire shots and stuff like that. And I was going to say, look, you can't let one person, like one person won't stop you. One person, can't affect you and stuff like that. And that is very true. But thinking about with Clarkson's farm, it was one person that kind of stopped him, right? When he put in some planning permission. And I think that's a great area to kind of talk about is this restaurant that he created. So he's obviously looking at ways to make money, and looking at that farmer's income kind of side, and him going, we're not going to get those grants or subsidiaries or whatever it was anymore. We need to find ways of making more money. Again, different income streams, right? We talk about this in
Yeah.
business, get different income streams. Let's open a restaurant. We've got the food to do this. We've got the local community and stuff like that. Let's open a restaurant. Has the land, has the place, everything's fine.
Yeah.
Can't do it. He's not allowed.
Not allowed. Yeah.
You know?
That it was incredible, wasn't it? That whole. I know and this is kind of the side apart from farming is really, because Clarkson's obviously rubs an awful lot of people up the wrong way,
Yeah.
and a lot of people don't like him, and so it didn't. And this is the kind of the thing that was, I think Oxfordshire Council, whatever, they should be really ashamed of themselves.
Mm.
They let their emotions get in the way. We're not doing it because it's Clarkson. Not about, hang on, is this good for the community? Is this good for farming? Is this okay? It was all about, no, we don't like him. We're not going to do it. And it was, and you could read it. The more it went on, the worse it got.
Yeah.
Until it got to the stage, and I think with the track, he wasn't even allowed to put down a track on his own farm,
Yeah.
because even before going to council, they said, no, can't have planning permission for that because it's not going to do anything. I think one or two people made that decision. And apparently Charlie would say, Charlie would say he's never known that ever before in all his experience. And it was purely because he was Clarkson.
And that's, what you are right. And I'm sure there will be something that comes out of that, because it, like you said, it is someone who it is emotionally attached and probably has too much power to make that decision without looking at the bigger picture. And that's
Yeah,
I think that's a great lesson there, isn't it? The bigger picture is because by you got that kind of phrase about cutting off your nose to spite your face, right? Because as much as this Clarkson, you think, okay, I don't want him to make any more money, or I don't want him
yeah,
to have this kind of power or anything like that. You're actually stopping several families from benefiting.
yeah,
Who
yeah.
could be the actual suppliers and stuff like that of this restaurant.
Mm.
Um, but again, look, not to I was gonna say not to give any spoilers, but we've already kind of done stuff
We've
like
already done that a
Yes,
little bit. But
he gets a restaurant. It's not the restaurant he wanted. He kind of finds a few loopholes and stuff like that. And there's this great part where he has a builder, doesn't he? So I think is the guy's name Alan? Is that right?
Alan, yeah,
Alan, yeah. So Alan was in the last series and stuff like that as well. And he obviously knows him for a little while. He's gotten to build different things, and he had him on hand to kind of do some repairs and you know
yeah,
uh, and
right,
to be ready to kind of build this restaurant. Didn't happen. They found this loophole. But what happened there is that they had to basically tell the council or whoever it was that they were looking to open this restaurant
yeah.
and refurbish whatever building it was, an old barn,
An old barn.
within a couple of days,
Yeah,
so that the council couldn't come back and say, no, you can't do it. They
yeah,
wanted to be able to go, we've already got it here. Now, mate, I don't know about you, but for any builder I've ever known, you know, if you said to them it had to be done in 2 days, they would say no chance.
yeah,
Right. But actually, what happened was they all kind of got together and they did it. And look, okay, maybe with the show, you never know. It might have been, a few more days or something like that. But the
yeah,
whole
yeah,
kind of point there is that once they were committed, once they kind of had that plan in place, this is what we're going to do, and they've worked out this needs to be done first, and that needs to be done, and X, Y, Z. They were committed to do it. They got on and did it.
mm.
I think that
Uh,
that whole kind of thing we talk about quite a lot of going. If you're starting out doing something, you're not quite sure what you're going to be doing. Don't spend all your time planning because things are going to change. But
yeah,
once you're
yeah,
serious about something happening and things need to fall in place, you need a plan there.
yeah. And there's another lesson that comes from there as well about collaboration, isn't it? You say, okay, so Clarkson obviously in that particular case, he talked to Alan the builder, he said, right, this is what I want to do, and he was advising we do this there, we could put this, da, 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 and then he dropped the bombshell in 2 days.
Yeah,
And but once this Alan guy could see the vision, and that's the thing, isn't it? Is we talk about people having vision in business, and it becomes a bit of a buzzword to some, and we say you've got to have a vision, and you've got to be able to convey that vision to other people. And once you've conveyed that vision and got that into their mindset, they will work as hard as they possibly can to make it happen. So Alan didn't need the restaurant to happen. Yeah, it was a good contract for him. I'm sure. I'm sure that he got paid over the odds. But Alan didn't need that to happen. Alan's just a builder. He could have got. He was probably inundated with work.
mm,
But Clarkson's vision was so strong, if you like, I guess is the right word, or vivid, that Alan was on side. Gerald, his accountant, was on side, which was quite unusual because
that's the
Gerald.
Charlie's the accountant. They not
Oh,
not Gerald.
Charlie's accountant.
Gerald
Sorry, yeah,
is a
Gerald's
different, it's a
yeah,
different kettle of fish.
different what he is. So Charlie was the pessimist. He was on side, and because they were all on side,
Mm,
they did it. And it's that whole thing about getting a team of people that once you conveyed the vision and say, look, this is going to work because it's going to help. And that's the other thing. It helped so many other people as well because they were taking produce from other farms that this is going to work. And they pulled out an amazing amount of stops to get it done. And I think the comment at the end, wasn't it, from Clarkson said, "Oh, you've really shot yourself in the foot now, I think, because people can see that builders don't need to take 2 weeks."
yeah, and that's it, isn't it? And to be honest, I think you get that a lot, though, don't you? With lots of different things, and it's like you take that with say like a website, it's like well, you could knock a website up in an hour, but there would be people that take 3 months to do it.
Yeah,
And it's like, well, what's the reason for that time difference? And it's like, okay, look, you're probably making sure everything is kind of done properly, and all the kind of T's are crossed and the I's are dotted and stuff like that. But really, if you wanted to get something done, if you wanted to get something kind of up and running, you could do. And it's like
yeah,
you can always adapt and change as you go. And I think that to me is such a great lesson of speed is your friend
yeah,
at the beginning.
yeah,
Once you
Yeah.
get to a certain level and stuff like that, then yes, okay, it pays to be safe and look at the risks and stuff like that, 100%. And with those kind of risks as well, I mean, with him looking to build this restaurant, it obviously gets there's objections and stuff like that, and it comes then that it's been voted against it, he can't do it, and he's
Mm.
going to appeal against this, and it talks about it going to the high court and everything like that, and he's
Oh
talking
yeah, yeah,
with a barrister or something, and before you know it, they're like, it's going to cost at least 500,000.
yeah,
He's like, okay, I'm not doing it. So he was all ready to do it, and then he stopped, and it's like, I think that's a great lesson for people as well about picking your battles and knowing when to stop.
yeah,
There's that
yeah,
whole kind of thing of, things aren't working. When do you cut ties with that? Or
yeah,
even when things are working, are things always going to be that way, or do you need to adapt to kind of move off, take your winnings, maybe?
yeah, yeah. I think that's true as well, isn't it? Is that we know, even web design, because that moves on and moves on, that there will come a time when people don't need web design. There'll be something else. I don't know what that other else will be. Um, but it was booming a few years back, wasn't it? There were web designers everywhere. Yeah, we create web, we do this. But there will come a time, and when you won't need that, or something else will replace it. And it's knowing that, hang on, it's going well at the moment. What could happen in the future? So the whole prediction thing is, okay, how can I find out from whom, the kind of people I need to get on board? Like, how can I find out what will happen, what's going to happen? And I remember there's a point actually in that when they're talking about renovating that barn into becoming a bit more of an open restaurant, and I think Clarkson says to Charlie, he says, "I want to do this, but we're not going to get planning permission, are we?" And Charlie said, "No." And he said, "So what are they? What are they going to complain about?" And I think Charlie said they're going to say that you can't do it because it can't be done or something like that. Not that it can't do it, but it can't be done. And so that's when they come up with a plan. And Clarkson said, "Well, if we do it and then tell them we're going to do it, and if they say it can't be done, say, well, it can be done because here
Done.
it is." And I think the going back before that lesson was the fact that Clarkson looked over the horizon and said, right, okay, if I want to do this, what are the obstacles? And I think that's a huge thing in business, is to do that kind of what if situations, isn't it?
Mm.
Say, I want to do this. It's like the Field of Dreams thing, isn't it? That
Yeah.
Costner built. Let's build it and everyone will come. Well, it was great in films, but it doesn't happen. Building it and people coming isn't going to be the case. And again, there's so many people I hear about, good and bad. So, like course creation, I get so many people saying that I've created a course, and you say, yeah, but do people want it? Well, I don't know. I just thought it was a good thing to do. Whereas the other time, the other situation, the other side of that, you get people say, I'm going to create a course and I'm going to tell people I am, and I'll see how many people will want it. If they say, that's a great idea, then I'll build the course. So it's like the house, isn't it? It's like, do you want a house here? Yes or no? And if people say, yeah, it'll be really good, right, I'll build it, as opposed to just, yeah. And I think that's a great lesson that came out of that, is that Clarkson knew that people wanted a restaurant, and because he was, again, that's where his personality comes in. He's famous basically to a certain extent, and people just wanted to eat in his place. But he knew that the council was gonna try and drop one massive bomb to stop the whole thing happening. So it's looking over that horizon and
Mm.
just trying to think strategically about
You think
what is going to stop me doing this.
you think though, like with people we work with and stuff like that, and we talk about there being levels in business, so we look
Mm.
at kind of 5 levels,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
like those entry levels, okay, yes, it's about speed, it's about getting proof of concept, getting customers, and getting cash flow and everything like that. But once you get to a point where you have a business of a certain size, you're actually looking at where you can reduce or eliminate risk.
mm.
It's not about growth and lead generation and this kind of stuff. Is growth by going, okay, this is what the kind of track that we're on. Okay, how do we actually make sure that nothing happens in a way which is going to trip us up? How do we
Yeah,
make sure that's protection? We mentioned this on the last podcast as well about having kind of like backup accounts and stuff like that with with money, and then
Contingency.
you
Yeah,
can
yeah,
obviously have that that removes that kind of feast and famine. But then once you get to a kind of bigger business and stuff like that, you kind of go in, okay, what happens if something like this was to happen? How would we get past that? Well, look, let's put this in place now. And it's just
yeah,
like it makes more sense to do that than to go, okay, like, how can we make a shed load of more money, and stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah,
But come back then to what you were saying, the whole thing of because Jeremy Clarkson is famous, like people want to come, and that I think that's part of the kind of issue, isn't it? Is that there's all these cars turning up and they're just parking anywhere, they're just
yeah,
abandoning,
yeah.
get past. There was a thing of like, you see, they put loads of cones out and stuff like that, and then they said
Oh
there was
yeah,
a traffic
yeah,
jam, and
yeah,
there was an accident or something, but someone couldn't get through. The
yeah. That was
fire engine
yeah,
couldn't get through because of the cones.
yeah, because of the
um,
cones. Yeah, he was
because
trying
of
to.
the
There was a
cones.
bus on a tractor. Yeah,
But I
because
think
whoever put the cones out just didn't think.
I think that this is a great thing of, again, look, whether you love him or hate him, what you have to kind of look at here is going, he's made a personal brand for himself, right?
Yeah,
So him being involved in cars and Top Gear and stuff like that, when he pivoted then through whatever reasons went on, away from the car show, but he became the presenter of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, like
yeah,
the game show here in the UK, and he was the presenter of that. And now, because he's a farmer, he's got that appeal. He's obviously got a contract with Amazon anyway from before and stuff. But
yeah, yeah.
what happens there is they go, he can pivot, he can move, he can attach his brand to this, and this is where you get the influence and everything like that. Now, to me,
Absolutely.
the
Yeah,
times that we live in today is such a big topic. I think for probably the past like good, I reckon about 4 years, I think that this is something that I've kind of pushed to everyone. It's just like build your personal brand.
yeah.
Because if you decide to pivot, if something doesn't quite work out here and you need to go somewhere else, people will trust you. People will go with you.
Mm.
Building that personal brand is just key.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, if you look at Clarkson, um, he stands for something. He's built his personal brand around. He's a petrol head. He loves cars. So he turns off the green lobby completely. But it doesn't matter because there's enough people who like him. So he's putting his head above the parapet. And like with everything, you put your head above the parapet, people are going to shoot you down all the time. They're going to shoot at you. So he's upset quite a few people for different things. He makes a stand about. He made a stand for the Top Gear for ages, and being an idiot at times. But that's Clarkson, and everyone says that's Clarkson. You know his personal brand. He's stood up and he's okay. Yeah, I'm here. I'm standing above the wall, and if you want to shoot me, okay, you can try. But this is what I'm going to stand for. And you and that creates two different poles of people: those who really love what you do, and those who hate what you do. And you'll never make friends with everybody. But if you don't stand for anything, you become just wishy-washy, and no one really pays any attention to you. Um, and I think that's another thing in business is you've got building a personal brand. You've got to kind of show people what you stand for. I mean, we stand for promoting small business. That's kind of that's the way we've kind of gone with the marketing and the mindset type coaching. Um, that's what we stand for. Now, other people say, "Oh, well, I don't need mine. I'm okay. My mindset's fine." Great. I don't need to work with them because I know that's probably not true, but it doesn't matter. I don't need to work with them because those aren't people. But I've got other people say, yeah, I really do need this. My mind isn't in the right place. And then you get the people like yourself, like you've said so many times, oh, I don't need marketing. My business is fine. And you know that, yeah, really, okay. But you don't care because you say, well, that's fine. I don't need you. And you've got other people who say, yeah, I really need your help. So you again, because you stood up for that whole marketing thing, you've got people who like you and people who not hate you, but people who don't work with you. And it's the same with anything. But when you've got somebody who's constantly switching and constantly changing and blowing like the wind, it's yeah, you don't know what they stand for. And then people don't gain that trust. You don't gain that. You can't even gain any kind of level of authority because people just think, well, I don't know what you are, what you stand for.
So,
And you just look at you look at our politicians at the moment. Sorry, I'm not going on the bandwagon, but
yeah,
they're swaying with the wind. it's going one way and they're just shifting and they're going all over the place. And so there's no confidence in the politicians we have because people think, well, I don't really know what you stand for because as soon as someone says something, you jump on that bandwagon
Mm.
and then you jump on another bandwagon. And I think that's, yeah, I think that's in that personal branding that you just highlighted there is so important, especially in business, because people have got to know, like, and trust us.
That whole thing as well, like that, people having confidence in you, I think automatically gives you a level of authority. But building that authority is so key. And like you said, when you stand for something, you do build that authority. And the way I'm kind of looking at that there is we've mentioned Charlie a load of times, right?
Yeah,
We didn't mention him too much in the past episode. I think that's when we were like, we haven't even got into kind of talking about Charlie. Now, Charlie, yeah, you know, in the first episode, I think he was kind of pushed as an accountant, right? Because I think you mentioned about him being an accountant, but then
yeah,
it
I
seems
think
like
he
he's
is.
so much more, right?
Mm.
Because he's doing stuff with some of the kind of, you know, the proposals and some of the legal work, and
Oh,
he's
yeah.
the way I see it, he's like an advisor, he's a consultant at the end of the day, right?
Mm.
With Jeremy Clarkson, and what I really like about him is like it's kind of like a running joke where something's going on, they're like, oh, here he comes, you know, his stop loss
Yeah,
and
here
everything like
comes
that,
Charlie.
and he's I don't know, again, I don't know what he is or what he does, but he's very good at what he does
Very
because
good,
he's
yeah.
very knowledgeable, he knows all the rules and stuff like that. So when they are talking, Jeremy Clarkson's like, well, I just do this. He's like, no, you can't do that, you know,
Yeah,
or this is going to be happening whether you like it or not. So you're going to have to
yeah,
plan around it. And it's like having someone like that powerful in your team is a different topic. That's a whole different episode that we'll have to
yeah.
do on a podcast about having the right people around you. But just that there, like having being confident in yourself as well, that you can turn around to the client and say, no, that's not right. You know, we need to do things this way. We need to do things that way. We'll give you more respect from them. We'll build your authority, not doing it in a way where you're just being, you know, you're showing your authority and bossing them around or anything, but
Yeah, yeah.
actually advise them, right? And say, look, you can't do this because of that. You can't do that because of that. And actually we can get around it this way, or we need to do this first. I think it just like, it just speaks levels, and him, that Charlie throughout the whole kind of series, and just like, if he wasn't there, God knows what would happen, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's that. I mean, yeah, it's just in that it really comes to the fore, doesn't it, in the second series about how crucial he is for everything because they're making the bids for this, they're doing this, he's doing all the legal work. He says, yeah, you can't do this because of health and safety or and you know, health and safety is a situation that certainly Clarkson doesn't like, but a lot of people just think, oh, oh, I don't really, it's just a stress, isn't it? But it's essential because you can get closed down immediately. And that's what China's coming from. So the health and safety is important because if this doesn't happen, bang, you
Yeah.
get closed down and they'll close everything. And you can't move because they have that much power. So you've got to, that's something you might not like it, but you've got to live with it. And he's just very, very practical the whole way through. But as you said, I like him because he's
Mm.
so quietly confident. Just be able to say when Clarkson comes out with some ideas, he's got a great answer. Either he says no, you can't do that, or he said, well, you could do,
But
but and then he lists all the reasons why he couldn't. And then Clarkson's eventually thinking, oh well, I won't do that then.
there's so much around this as well. Like with Charlie, like obviously we don't know him, so I can't
No,
be
yeah,
I can't be right in what I'm about to say here, right? But he probably doesn't know much else outside of his
no,
expertise, right? You know, and nor should he, or even care or anything like that, right? But because he's so fixed in there, like you said, he is just confident. It doesn't matter. He knows, right? And I get this myself. I feel where I feel within the whole kind of marketing space, you know, strategic business, whatever we're kind of looking at, I can hold my own in any kind of conversation. So, you know, not going in being cocky or anything like that, but being confident in a way where it's
confident. Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
I can answer
totally
a
different.
question, you know, and I can give a reason for why and all this kind of stuff. And I think it is the same way there. But I guess what we're kind of looking at here with Charlie and with Clarkson is that, like you said, if Charlie tells him something, I think what's a great lesson here is that Clarkson listens.
Yeah,
And how many times have we seen it and we've heard, and you see it somewhere else where you go, someone's got someone in to help them with something, but not actually listen to anything they
but
said.
not listen
They
to
want
it.
it
Yeah,
done their way, but they want someone else to do it their way, and all this stuff. It's like if you're getting someone in to advise you, consult with you, coach you, whatever it is, it's like, they've got expertise in for a
yeah,
reason. Whatever they're saying is for a reason,
mm,
and it's to help you get to whatever kind of goal it is that you said you want to get to.
absolutely. And I think that's yeah, it's funny, isn't it? How people call in a consultant or an advisor and then completely ignore them. You think, well, why did you call me in? Um, and I've had that even with writing with different stuff, where people have they wanted me to write for them, for reason but I want you to write the copy for this website. Yeah, okay, right. And I want it to look like this. There's got to be this. I say, well, does that really work? Yeah, this is the way it's going to work. It's just like that one over there. They'll show me an example. You say, yeah, but you don't know that. You don't know the background of that company. You have no idea. Do they even like their website? But they're adamant. I want it done that way, and I've turned away and just said, well, I'm sorry, but no. Talk about Chat GPT. It's almost like say, well, get an AI to do it for you because if that's what you want, great. But I'm not going to write it.
And there's a difference there, isn't it, between someone who wants to outsource some work because they have an idea and they don't know how to do it versus someone who wants to get to the next level. And it's like, do you know what, mate? This is something actually, like, I was watching, there's a program on TV called Young Rock, right? So you
Okay.
got you got the Rock, like the wrestler, the
Yeah,
actor,
yeah, yeah.
Dwayne Johnson. So it's about him kind of growing up and then he gets into wrestling and stuff like that. But there's a scene where it's meant to be him talking with Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
Right. So
Right.
Hulk Hogan's obviously, he's the kind of OG. He's been there. He's been the main man, and he's
Yeah.
talking to The Rock, who's the one coming up and stuff like that. And they're like talking. He's just like, "You're the same as me." He said, "We got to a point where we wondered if our ceiling was a new floor, and we had to get through that to get to our new floor." And it's just like I remember listening to that thing. I got to tell Mark about that, but
Mm.
that there is like that's the difference, isn't it? To get to that new floor, if you're like it sucks being stuck, right? If you're stuck
Mm.
at a level, and you're just like I want to get through it. Take the advice from people. Don't
Yeah.
get people in to support you and then tell them what you want or what you think because it's
Yeah.
like if you're trying to get to the next level, people are there to help you do it. People have been there before. People have done it for people and stuff like that. And that whole thing, like you said, of someone looking at someone else's website and saying, I want it like that. You don't know if that website works.
No.
The amount of times I can remember like talking with people and they'd be like, oh yeah, like so and so. And it's just like, but their business doesn't work. So why,
Mm.
do you want it like that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
way of knowing that. But that's all kind of around the garden and stuff like that. But again, look, so many different stories with Clarkson's farm. I think from one of them that I mentioned on the last episode, I like the thing with Caleb where he's just like, you can't really see what's going on. I'm going to do some S shapes and you'll be able to see. And
Oh yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah.
it's knowing that whole kind of thing. Like when something is
Yeah.
going wrong, what to do. And obviously
Yeah.
there are people at different levels. I talk about this. We've spoke about this on the podcast as well. About there being different levels of sophistication. Right. Coming back to your coaching example, you will have someone who's a coach who is trying to help you get to the answer that you have in your head or to find the answer that you believe is right. But you're limited then to obviously knowing what you know. You don't know
Mm.
what you don't know, kind of thing. A good coach may be able then to, give you a different way of thinking about something or give you the answer and make you see, what's clear and stuff like that. In Clarkson's farm, you had a point where you had the cows and one of the cows is about to give birth. Clarkson doesn't know what to do. Right.
No.
So he's like, so he gets Caleb in, right?
Yeah.
Caleb's like, yeah, done this 100 times, whatever it is, 1,000 times. Something's going not quite right. Caleb gets to a point where he's out of his depth. So they call in the vet, right?
Derwin. Yeah.
They go in, yeah, and he's a character as well, right?
Yeah.
But so he comes in and he's doing whatever he needs to do, and it's still not right. And he's like, to Caleb, he's like, go and get whatever kind of jack or whatever tool it is out of the van, right? And he delivers this is it a calf? Delivers this calf, right?
Yeah.
And it's all well and everything like that. And it's like it's knowing what to do. Like
Yeah,
that's the thing. Like there's so people, so many different levels of sophistication. It's like Clarkson, yeah, I'm a farmer. It's like if something goes wrong, you have no idea what to do.
yeah, yeah,
Caleb is obviously awesome, but
yeah,
then he doesn't know about the kind of livestock. Even the vet gets to a point where he's just like, shit, this isn't going to plan. You know,
yeah.
I've got to do something serious here. I need the right tool. It's no
Mm,
tools to use at what point, you know. We talk about this in business marketing where we're just like all the tools are out there, they all work, all the platforms work and everything like that. But certain tools and that won't support you in the early days, you know. Certain tools will be relevant once you get past a certain stage. So why would you
yeah,
be trying to do all these things with these tools when they're not going to do the job? Like that I'm saying it's a jack, I don't know what it is, but this tool that he used to help with the cow giving birth, right? But that tool's going to be irrelevant in anything else.
yeah, exactly. It's just for that thick situation. Yeah, yeah. It's incredible. It was some kind of talk, wasn't it, that
Yeah, some sort
provided
of
the
pulley.
strength
Yeah,
of 8 men to get this. Blimey, God, that's some pulling, that is. But yeah, yeah. But yeah, you're right. It's when you that is true, isn't it? You see. I can't remember where. I can't remember. There was another years ago. There was some kind of documentary or some kind of program, and there was a classic kind of phrase that came out of this. It was about some kind of technician, you expert in their field, and I think he was an electrician or something. I can't remember what it was, but his catchphrase came as, "Oh, I've got a tool for that," and he'd go back to the back of the van. He'd come out with something. What on earth is this? But it's just something that's specific to that particular issue. But this guy had been around long enough that he knew that without that tool, it couldn't be fixed. So he might use that tool once a year. But the whole point is that he knows that, yeah, okay, that's gonna fix it. I've got a tool for that. And I can't remember what it was a TV program years ago. I can always remember that phrase because it's kind of a bit of a joke. Well, I've got a tool for that. But yeah, but it is true that those you when you call in the experts, I mean, obviously you're expecting the experts to be able to know that, but you call in those people who are, I have no idea where to go. You go to that next level and that next level because for Clarkson it's Caleb, and then for Caleb he's kind of like, okay, it's the vet because I don't know now. I'm out of my depth as well, and it's under. I think that's the other thing, isn't it? Is that knowing when um, you've got to that level and you think, right, okay, I'm like, well, you go back to Hulk Hogan and the young Rock, is they got to that level and think, I need help to crash this into the next floor because I'm stuck and I don't know what I need to do. So that's that's the help you've got to go for.
that's exactly it, man. I think this is a good point to basically round up this episode
Yeah, yeah,
and kind of move on. And that thing of going that you don't know what you don't know and help and stuff like that. I think for anyone listening, going back a good year or so ago, we put together a little challenge called Boost Your Confidence in
oh
Business.
yes,
It's
yeah,
a little kind of 3 day challenge. We did that. We had some great results, and it's kind of just been on the shelf, ever since. But chat we had recently, and it was just like, look, let's bring it back out. So we put it on demand, basically, so you can get it for free. It's a instant access 3 day challenge. Boost your confidence in business. Look at your mindset. Look at your products and services, and look at your marketing. We'll put a link wherever you're listening and watching this. We'll put a link so you can go and grab that. Like I said, it's free, but it's all about giving you that what do we say, clarity, confidence, and
clarity,
courage.
confidence, and courage. Yeah,
Three C's,
yeah,
right, to help you move forward. But
yeah,
yeah, I guess we'll finish this episode now, and we'll just say, look, again, look, wherever you're listening or watching this, hit subscribe, give us a like,
yeah,
a comment, a review. It all helps. Wherever you found this podcast, share it with someone else, let them find it as well. We're on that mission. We want to help 1,000 people to basically create a business or the income that they want. And if we can do that this year, even better. So
yeah.
share it out, get it into front of the right people. And yeah, I guess, Mark, if there's anything you want to add just to round things up with this episode.
No, I think we've covered quite a few things. I mean, obviously the whole thing, you don't know what you don't know, but we did cover that last time. I think it's about getting. I think this one is be aware when you need help and get the right help, and don't and take their advice. Don't just think that you know it all and get their help and I'll tell them what I want. Actually, if you're going to go and get help, you need to listen to those people and take their advice.
Yeah, 100%. I was going to bring that one up. I think I'll just kind of wrap it with that whole kind of personal brand thing. It's just like
Oh yeah, yeah,
stand for what you believe in. You know, there will be people that don't like it, people that put you down, but just keep standing by it because the people who believe the same will become your tribe. You know, you'll be
they
stronger
will.
together and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And just, I guess just another thing on that whole thing with Alan the builder building you know getting that barn converted into a restaurant in 2 days, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
vision.
crazy, right? But that there it just made me think of Roger Bannister, the guy who ran the was it the mile in under 4 minutes.
4 minute mile, yeah,
Yeah,
under
and
4 minutes.
it's like it had never been done before. People said
Never.
your heart and lungs would explode or something like that if
Yeah,
you did it. As soon as he did it, loads of people went on to do it
yeah,
right away. You know, so it's like until it's done, you know, it seems
yeah,
impossible, but once it's done, it's done. So just whatever you're working towards, just keep working towards it. You can do it.
yeah.
We keep ending the podcast with that. Just do it, right? You know?
Just do it. We do
Just do
actually.
it.
Yeah, about the last four
Yeah,
now. Just do it.
that's it. Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
I wonder if that tagline's taken, eh?
Shame.
But yeah, right,
Yeah.
we'll wrap things up there. It's always been a pleasure.
Okay. Yeah,
I'll catch
that's
you next
great.
time.
Indeed. Thanks, everyone.
See you then.
Yeah. Cheers.